Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to the shop. In this week's video, Jason is coming back and we're gonna build some cabinets for his laundry room and then we're gonna go install them. So here we go. All right, so 2 weeks ago, Jason was here and we built his kitchen in 4 days. Then over Thanksgiving week, I sprayed everything, got it all painted. Then this week, Jason is back. We're gonna build his laundry room cabinetry, which is gonna be rift white oak. And then we're gonna deliver it and we're gonna install it. We're also gonna deliver and install the kitchen, but that will be a separate video. I wanna give a quick shout out to my man Matt Moore Designs on Instagram. You can go follow him over there right now. But he does all my drawings. Check him out. I mean, he does all 3D renderings and shop drawings and everything. He does them for me. It's just another thing that I outsource because it's hard to do it all. So thank you, Matt. Appreciate you coming through with the drawings for this project. And yeah, let's get into this thing. All right, so Monday morning, Jason showed up bright and early and got right to work. I think after doing that first project together a couple weeks ago, we both had more of an understanding of how we build things and how we each kind of work. So I think we had a pretty good flow and we just kind of got things done quickly. So I actually had to run out and get some material. I needed to get a gallon of clear to spray the drawers, and I needed to get a couple sheets of rift white oak for these cabinets. So Jason got started with breaking down material for face frame parts and doors and drawer fronts while I was out running around. And over there in the background you can see a bunch of the painted parts for the kitchen, but that's for another video. So here he is just ripping down stock. So this was all material that Jason had brought over from his shop that he had, and I think there was some 5/4 and then I think there was some 4/4 mixed in. So there was a lot of milling that had to be done to get this stuff down to all a consistent thickness. But by the time I got back, he had all this stuff milled up and kind of ready to go. And before we knew it, he was already cutting face frame parts and getting ready to assemble it. Now this laundry room there's not a ton of cabinetry here. It's basically a sink base, 2 drawer stacks next to it, and then some dividers for the washer and dryer. That is for the kitchen, obviously. And the kitchen and the laundry room are getting a farm sink. The one in the laundry room is really cool. It's like fluted in the front. You'll see it towards the end of the video. And so Jason is assembling the face frame here. We're building this cabinet with the sink and the 2 drawer stacks. It's all going to be one cabinet, like one piece. And that way we don't have any field joints or anything like that. And this cabinet will be easily manageable and be able to get it into the house in one piece. And in the background there, I was getting drawers ready to get some clear on them. So my process for spraying the drawers, I do a really light coat for the first coat, and it dries really fast, and I come back, scuff it up with some 320 grit sandpaper, and then hit it with another coat, and they're done. And that's good enough. Nothing too crazy. And here you can see the face frame coming together with the drawer stack on the left, and on the left side as well there is going to be, or I guess that would be the right side that he's working on, but on the left side there is a finished end panel, and the right side butts into the washer and dryer dividers, which will all make sense when you see us install it. And then I could move over and start breaking down some plywood for the boxes. And for the plywood boxes, I use 3/4 inch pre-finished birch plywood. And you can see I've got a full stack of it over there. I typically buy a full stack, and because we use this stuff so much that we just kind of buy a full stack and use it as we need it. And while I was doing that, Jason was over there crushing it. Already got the doors and all his parts made for those. Now there was only 2 doors for this project for under the sink. The rest is all drawer fronts, and they're going to be flat slabs to match the kitchen. And we did, for these doors, we did use just a 1/4 inch rift-sawn panel because it was material that Jason had. So we figured we might as well use it. And then before we knew it, I was putting boxes together. Rowdy was sanding and spraying the drawers and getting that final coat on, and Jason was back there milling up stock for the slab drawer fronts. So things were moving quickly. Now the parts that Jason is coping right there on the shaper are for the finished end panel. That will be on the left side of the cabinet, which you'll see in a little while. So at this point, Jason is very familiar with all my machines in the shop and how, like, the workflow and all that stuff. And so we were seriously just cruising. And he is here milling up material for drawer fronts. I moved on to putting the toe kick base together, and things were just flying. At one point, I even asked him if he wanted to come and work with me and Rowdy all the time. He said, dude, we can build kitchens in 4 days and just make lots of money doing it. But he turned me down because he's making his own YouTube videos. So there's that. I moved on to the cabinet boxes and attaching the face frame. I am going to use the Lamello Zeta P2 and use the Tensos to snap this frame on. I am going to glue it up. This is getting finished with Rubio, so it'll be easy enough to apply the finish while it's attached to the box. So we go around and shoot all our biscuit slots and everything. And the Lamello, if you are interested in the Lamello, let me know. You can send me an email. My email is in the description below. Or you can send me a message on Instagram, and I will get you connected with a sales rep directly at Lamello, and they will hook you up and answer any questions you have and take care of all your ordering. The Lamello, really, I know I say it every video, it's one of my favorite tools. I love that thing. It's literally changed the way that I do a lot of things. So it's awesome. Then we move on to the frame. Rowdy was still going to town on those drawer boxes. Now there was a lot of drawers because he was spraying the ones for the kitchen as well. So there was about 20 something drawers, I believe. And Jason is laying out the drawer fronts, the slab fronts. We didn't have anything that wide, so we had to glue them up. And he is laying them out and figuring out which way will look the best when they're glued up. And especially with the rifts on white oak, glue ups like that, it's almost impossible if you do it right to find the joint, because it's all obviously very clean, straight grain, so you're able to hide that glue joint well. And then the cabinet doors going through the sander, and I think that's Jason like, dude, does this dust collector even work? It's my dust collection needs serious help, guys. It does. And then he's cutting them down to size. So typically this is how we do it. We do the cross cut at the slider and then bring it over to this saw and do the rip. I don't like the rip fence for my grizzly slider, so I don't use it. That's the only complaint I really have about that saw, is that the fence is a little janky. And look at that. Nice fitting doors. Well done, sir. Well done. This is the finished end panel that will get mitered to the face frame. So get that mitered there. And then we'll do our miter fold and get this thing glued on. And those are just some scrap plywood blocks with some pocket screws. And I really like this because it just holds that glue up nice and square while the glue dries. And then when you take that off in the morning, it's all set. So that was the end of the day, Monday. Now this is the beginning of the day, Tuesday. And I get this face frame snapped on. And at the end of the day, Monday, I said to Jason, I was like, dude, we're going to be done with this job by like noon tomorrow. And we'll be able to deliver it all. And yeah, we're just kicking butt. Well, we didn't get it all done on Tuesday. We worked on it all day Tuesday and delivered everything on Wednesday. I was a little ambitious. And then I get my toe kick screwed on, and I added some extra 3/4 strips to the bottom of my toe kick, just so that way when we drag this cabinet around the shop, we're not dragging it on the actual finished end and styles of the face frame. And then I looked over, and Jason was sanding all his drawer fronts. And I think in the couple weeks we've worked together, I think that was the first time I saw him use the sander. So that was awesome. He got everything sanded, which was great. I moved on to cutting down this rift white oak plywood. Now these pieces are for the dividers, and you could see me walking on that pile of wood. By this point, the shop was kind of a wreck, and we were just, had parts everywhere and scrap wood everywhere, and it's just how it goes usually mid-project. Things get a little out of control at the end. And then the material I'm ripping down here is for the face frame parts for those dividers for the washer and dryer. So I break everything down to a rough width, and then everything needed to be flattened a bit and edge jointed over at the jointer. I like to rip them down to rough length. It just makes everything much easier to manage rather than trying to flatten 10-foot long rips. It's much easier to break them down into more manageable pieces, and you're going to get a nicer finished result, I believe. And so all these parts went through the sander as well. And that sander, I'm running 80 grit in the front and 150 in the back, and that seems to work really well for me. And Jason was testing some different colors of Rubio to see what color it was going to get finished with. And I was assembling the dividers. Now this whole thing I made so that, because it's going to be pretty big, so it's all going to be knocked down so that we can assemble it easily on site, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to get this cabinet through the door. And I'm using the Lamello Clamex for this because it makes assembly really easy, and then it's also really strong, and all those little holes you won't actually see because they're on the inside of the cabinet, and the washer and dryer are in there. The face frame, however, did get assembled completely, and that will attach to the box. I do assemble the whole thing in the shop just to make sure we were all good. Just continuing with the face frame here. Jason got the doors board for hinges. And then he was slapping Rubio on everything. So this project was literally almost done. The color that they chose was this Rubio Mist. And I thought it looked great. Gave it kind of a natural look. I think it looks pretty sweet. So obviously this thing is upside down, but I wanted to get it all assembled just to make sure it would all work. I also needed to assemble it and get my center divider right where I needed it to be. And all this, even the boxes, are attached with Lamello Clamex, just so that assembly on site will be very, very easy. And so my center divider fit in there. Perfect. Get the whole thing assembled, and then I take it all back apart. Now, like I said, face frames in one piece, and then this thing all gets knocked down for finishing and delivery. Easy. Then Jason moved on to cutting the face frame for the farm sinks. And the way he did this template, you can see that template that he just had. He cut strips of 1/4 inch MDF and basically made a border around the farm sink, which I didn't get a shot of, I'm sorry, but that gave him the perfect shape. Now these farm sinks are basically, they're tapered in on the ends. So he figured out that taper, made a template, and then routed the face frame for the sink. I didn't get a shot of him doing the white oak one, but you'll see the finished shot with this thing in it later. But I did get a shot of him doing the paint grade one for the kitchen. And there is the sink for the laundry room. See, it's like fluted in the front, looks really cool. I dig it. And then, wouldn't you know, Craig showed up. And Craig and Jason are like Rubio pros, and they got finish on this thing fast. Just look at them go. And then before you know it, it was Wednesday morning, cabinets were done, and it was delivery day. So we headed over to the Black Butte Ranch house, and we got things delivered. And then it was time to install and dance. Now, it was tight in here with 3 or 4 of us. Those are the tile guys. But yeah, this room was a little difficult to film in, so I did my best, especially with all of us in there. But we assembled this thing really quickly, attached the face frame, and then we did need to cut it down because the floor was a little off, and I made this thing taller than it needed to be so we could account for that. You'll see the middle divider we actually took out and ripped down, and that'll make it easier to make the connections in the back for the washer and dryer. But we put the track saw on there and cut all these legs down, and we didn't actually scribe them to the floor. We just shim them up because this floor is going to get tiled. Jason's actually going to tile this floor, and so we had some room to play with. The tile would cover any gaps at the bottom. I think we were up like a 1/4 inch, or maybe not even 1/8 of an inch or so. And then Jason toe screwed this whole thing to the floor. And then once we got this set, then we could move on to the actual cabinet, which butts into it. And so for installing these cabinets, I'm taking that toe kick off, and I'm shimming and leveling that first, and then we can just set the box right on top of it and screw it down to the toe kick and to the wall. Then we measure for the water lines and the drain, and we can get those cut in the cabinet with some hole saws. And then you'll see in the top where Jason's hands are sticking through, the plumber requested that we just cut a big hole for him there, and that way when he goes to make all his connections for the faucet and stuff like that, it'll be easy for him to do so. And let's see if we got it right. And yeah, we did. Everything lined up great. Jason moved on to getting that screwed to that panel over there. And then this was 2 days later. I had to come back because unfortunately I was a little late to ordering drawer slides. So I had to wait for them to come in, and then me and Rowdy came back and just got everything installed, got everything finished up. And so I just use a spacer to mount all my drawer slides. Rowdy's drilling holes for the dowel centers that I use to make marks on the back of my drawer front, which I'm going to show you in a second. But you can see I put those in the holes and then press my drawer front against it, pre-drill a little hole in the back, and then I can just kind of screw it on. And with that 1/4 inch hole, it gives me a little play to move things around, and then I can make all my final adjustments with the actual locking device. So those are the dowel centers. I had a bunch of questions about those last week. So they just slide in the hole, and it has a little point on the front, and it's perfectly in the center of that hole. And everything is coming together and looking good. I really dig that sink. I think it is pretty sweet. It's going to look awesome in here once I get the countertops in. And then before you know it, the drawers were all in, looking nice. We hang the doors. I didn't have any spacers, so I ended up using, I tried to use biscuits, but the biscuits were too big. So I used some shims for spacers just to get my door and make sure my gaps were all good. And when I get that in place, then I can reach inside and just screw in the hinges. And then I can dial them all in and get them adjusted and make sure my reveals are all nice. I'm using Blum full inset hinges. Blum, Bloom, however you want to say it. Yeah, the adjustments on these are really nice. I really like the Blum hinges. And that's it, man. This thing is done. Pretty stoked with how this came out. Not bad for 3 days. Build, deliver, and install. All right, so that's it for this video, guys. It was a super busy week. We did a lot in 3 days. Delivery and install day for the whole thing went really well. There was like 5 of us there. So unloading and loading or loading everything up and unloading everything there and just getting everything installed. It went very smooth and pretty quick. We knocked it out. We knocked it out fast. So super fun working with Jason again. We definitely had a good time. And yeah, the Patreon is below. We're doing weekly Zoom calls on the Patreon. If you want to join, the link is below. There's my website with some merch down below as well. And all my other socials are down there. So be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And yeah, see you guys on the next one.